To understand the human condition, one must rise above it. This was the credo of Talbot Grimes, and rise above it he surely did, or at least tried to. This is the story of the Blight. Talbot Grimes was once a young Scottish lad. He was a popular child, bright, charismatic, yet despite his social graces, he was fiercely independent. He would spend most of his time alone, exploring the sprawling fields near his home. But one run-in with a poisonous patch of foxglove would change the course of this child's life. The poisonous foxglove nearly killed him, but instead of fearing the flower, he was fascinated. Fascinated that a single flower could drastically affect him. This fascination would pour into his adulthood, where he would go on to study at the London School of Medicine. And there, his willingness to push the limits would eventually see him end up as the head chemist at the British East India Company. It would be here that Talbot discovered a chemical that could increase a worker's productivity while reducing their need for rest. His discovery rewarded him with a secret laboratory beneath a prison camp. Prisoners from the Opium War became his unwilling subjects, leading to a drug that allowed soldiers to withstand incredible amounts of pain. However, rumors began to spread that one side effect caused soldiers to go mad, massacring villages and leaving people hanging on trees. Talbot refused to blame himself and, chalked it up to exaggerated war stories. His ignorance would quickly come to head, quite literally, as he found himself on a wagon after being struck in the head with a steel pipe by a sickly old man who had something to show Talbot. He was blindfolded and brought to a mass grave. Talbot's productivity increasing drug had killed an entire factory's worth of workers. There was no one Talbot could blame, it was right in front of him. The old man proceeded to beat Talbot to a pulp with a steel pipe, and then he threw him into the mass grave to die with the fruits of his labor. Then, from the edge of death, he was brought back. He found himself on the bed in an ancient mystery school where he would be nursed back to health by a kind group of monks. But it would be no coincidence. Talbot quickly learned that his knowledge of mind-altering substances would help the monks find what they called the soul chemical, a compound that would open the mind to alternate dimensions and unthinkable ideas. His research into the soul chemical became an obsession. He uncovered scientific formulas that confirmed previously unthinkable ideas. He dreamt of ushering humankind into a new period of enlightenment. But the attitude of the monks slowly shifted as he came closer to a breakthrough. Polite conversations turned to hushed murmurs, and gentle smiles became uneasy eyes darting away when spotted. The last thing he would see of the ancient school was the cracked ceiling above his bed. His next memories were a shattered mosaic of images and sensations. He was seeing smearing lights and hearing horse hooves on cobblestone, and the feeling of coarse burlap scratching at his cheeks, and the feeling of a sharp bite on his arm. He awoke splayed on a straw mattress of an opium den. All he could think about was his notes, the only record of his groundbreaking revelations. He desperately clawed around the den, frantically searching for his notes. He pleaded aloud for help, but the other opium addicts could only offer drug-soaked eyes and apathetic gazes. He noticed a robed figure appeared behind him, and then a needle plunged into his arm. The world disappeared once more. The cycle would continue, and throughout each rush, the only thing Talbot could think about was the soul chemical, his notes, a breakthrough. The last option he had was to write down his research on the walls of the opium den. He carved with a stone until his fingers bled, and when he ran out of walls to write on, he carved the message into his chest. Stained with blood, he witnessed a miracle appear before him. A magnificent field of lush orange flowers. A whispering voice beckoned to him. Enter the field and discover worlds and dimensions beyond human comprehension. And for a moment, Talbot felt the sense of wonder he possessed as a child. The denizens of the opium den awoke to silence. Shambling out of their drug-hazed fog, they found the stone, covered in blood. As their eyes adjusted to the darkened room, Talbot's research began to appear on the walls. Written over and over, without end, there was but one single line. Death is only the beginning.